Yes, we are ready to go live. All indications say we are now live in all of our different channels. Welcome, everybody, to Akashic Answers with Emily. You know how I start this thing. The records are now open. Welcome. If this is the first time you are joining, you're in for a treat. If this is the millionth time you're joining, you're in for a treat. And whether it's the first time or the millionth time or somewhere in between, let me just start by thanking you for being here and being a part of this show, this sacred container, because it's your questions that call forward the wisdom and guidance that I have the privilege of channeling for you today from the Akashic Records. And I always learn something really valuable in this time, and I can't do it without you all. So thank you so much for being here. Please say hello to me in the comments once you get here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And as you see Jim and our YouTube user saying hi from Minnesota, hi from Michigan, begin to hi from Croatia. Right on, Katrina. Begin to imagine these pinpoints of light all over our globe, illuminating these pinpoints of light as the grids of consciousness are flowing through our planet. The vortexes is where we tap into the information. So in essence, Robert in the house, good to see you. These pinpoints of light are the points of illumination of intelligence. Okay, and then the intelligence continues to flow through the grid. So you are, in essence, the channel, the beacon of the intelligence, especially as you begin to understand how your consciousness is working in tandem with all of these other beautiful souls who are showing up here on the planet. So in this video, I am going to channel wisdom from the Akashic Records based on your questions. Go ahead and start firing off your questions in the comments. I'm going to get to those in just a moment. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, let me introduce myself to you. I am Emily Harrison, founder director here inside the Akashic Academy. And I work with visionaries, thought leaders, spiritual seekers, those of you who are seeking quantum up-leveling. You want to understand not only the dynamics of the universe and how this plane called Earth works that we're all living in, but you want to understand your own patterns. The area of evolution, or I should say the chapter of evolution that we are in here together as humans right now in this moment is all about taking radical responsibility for what it is that we're collectively creating. I talked about that energy, that intelligence that we are all participating in, shooting through the grids of consciousness can be shifted and changed and up-leveled based on our thoughts. Okay? The key to making all of this work, what do I mean by making it all work? I mean by learning how to create the life that you want to create, because we're all creating in every moment. We just happen to be miscreating a lot along the way. We miscreate in our relationships, in our wealth. We miscreate in our careers that we're showing up for. And if you want to stop miscreating and start creating on purpose, it's all about figuring out where the challenges are in your life and what thoughts are creating those challenges for you. And when you isolate the thought that is creating the challenge and you get fully committed, be willing, or I should say, be willing to, that's how I want to say it. Be willing to no longer show up for that thought. Your life will change quickly, dramatically, and for the better. I can promise you, Girl Scouts honor. All right. So we're going to dive in and get some questions rolling here. Let's see. I felt like there's a couple other things that I want to tell you. Oh, I know what I want to tell you before we start. Candy, seeing you here in this space reminded me, this is the season of giving. So here at the Akashic Academy, we are giving away my core training in the Akashic Records. We're giving away a new package, a new training, a new program. There we go. We're giving away a new program every single Friday. So if you want to participate in that giveaway, it's a drawing. Here's how it works. Share out this broadcast. That's step one. Share it out. Step two, make sure that you like or subscribe wherever you are tuning in from, whether you are with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, make sure that you stay connected. And the third thing that I'll ask that will get you put in the drawing is by posting in the comments, post a link of where you shared. And my team and I will go back, gather all of the links in the comments. And if you were somebody who posted that link in the comments, your name goes into the hat. Okay? All right. So one more quick thing. If you are new, the Akashic records are your soul's records. They hold every detail of your past, your present, all possible futures from a neutral perspective. Neutral does not mean, I don't care about you. No, neutral means unconditional love and zero judgment, the way that God, the goddess energy, sees you. Okay? And I'm going to go to Robert. You know I'm picking you. I'm going to grab your question here. Robert, I'm so excited that we get to dive in for a deeper dive together. But right now, what Robert is asking, and this is going to be helpful for every single person out there. By the way, if as I'm channeling in, you are noticing a ping inside of your body, you are noticing the energy shifting, then this message is for you. You can consider your guides talking to you directly. Consider this your guides talking to you directly. So Robert says, how can we use the Akashic records to better understand our shadow self? Excellent question. All right, so the first thing that the guides want to talk about is, what is our shadow self? Okay. Every aspect of our personality, every part of ourself, every thought that we have for that matter, every feeling that we have gets to express in a variety of octaves. You get to choose where it gets to show up, how it gets to show up for you. We can express in our highest octave, which is one reason I love the Akashic records. I believe that this is the most potent self-actualization tool, because we can ask our soul intelligence, hey, how do I show up in my highest octave, in the highest and best timeline that allows me to be the happiest, to be the healthiest, to be the most prosperous, to help the most people. That's what it looks like to show up in your highest octave. We also can show up in a shadow octave or in our lower octaves. Okay. Every thought, every feeling, every aspect of our personality has a vibrational resonance. It can show up in a really high octave or it can show up in a low octave. And one of the reasons that it's so important to commit to doing the spiritual work is so that you can keep your vibration high, so that you can stay in the highest octave. But the shadow octaves, or the lower expressions, are when we are expressing in a way where we feel ashamed of ourselves, or we feel sorry for ourselves, or we feel stuck, or there's something that we don't want to acknowledge. We want to just shove it under the carpet. Anything that makes you feel icky inside, that's energy expressing in a shadow. It also has a highest octave. It's one of the reasons that we incarnate here on planet Earth, is so that we can understand this contrast of all of the different ways that we get to show up. Maybe you will notice that here on planet Earth, you don't get to play just one role. You don't just get to be the mother in your life. You don't just get to be the teacher. You don't get to just be the XYZ entrepreneur, fill in the blank. If you'll notice, you get to be all aspects of yourself. Not only do you get to be the mother, but you get to be the child as well. Not only do you get to be the teacher, but you get to be the student. Not only do you get to be an enlightened avatar, you also get to show up in your most assholey self. And you get to learn about your most assholey self. Okay? But here's what the guides want to speak to, that most assholey part of yourself, or the shadow. That the shadow is, this can also be considered an unintelligent part of yourself, a part of yourself where you haven't learned yet to express in the highest octave. Because there's trauma, or there's pain, or there's some aspect of this energy that you don't understand about yourself. So the first thing that we need to do when we are addressing our shadow self or our lower octaves is bring in self-love, babies. This is particular alive in for me in my field because I was definitely working with the energy of self-love yesterday. My guides whacked me upside the head, showing me, it was a great aha moment, that confidence and being good at what I do is not the same thing as loving myself. This is resonating. Send some hearts across the screen. Say yes in the comments if that resonates with you. That being confident in yourself and being good at what you do is not the same thing as self-love. I noticed I was being really hard on myself in my thoughts, in rigorously reviewing how I was showing up to express and to share this knowledge and this intelligence. And I wasn't in this high vibrational state of self-love, I can tell you that. My shadow was expressing. So when I notice that my shadow is expressing, rather than continuing to try to negotiate with those thoughts or shift them or change them in a way of like counteracting the thoughts, I say, all right, just unplug here for a second, Emily, and raise your vibration. So when you do things that raise your vibrational frequency, your entire vibration raises. And that's where you're going to have access to new thoughts. It's absolutely pointless for you to attempt to negotiate with your shadow self if you haven't done something to raise your vibrational frequency. So put a pause on that conversation that you're having with yourself and go walk outside, stand in the sunlight, breathe, meditate, work out, talk to a friend, do something that raises your vibrational frequency. Because we know that we cannot find the solution from the same vibrational frequency that the problem's creating or that the problem's presenting itself. Okay? Let me see if there's anything else the guides want to talk about shadow self. Oh, yes. Shadow self is our greatest teacher. When you learn to see your shadow showing up, get excited because there are opportunities for the biggest advancement that you can experience. Our shadow, what the guides are telling me right now, is our most empowering teacher, our biggest opportunity for rapid advancement, for timeline jumps. A timeline jump is when you decide, hey, I don't want to continue showing up in this timeline with the same set of circumstances that I'm in right now. I want to be in a timeline or a parallel universe with different circumstances. All right, so here on, give Robert some love, likes, hearts across the screen. This is a great discussion. Let me know what's landing for you, by the way. Whatever is landing in your field on this discussion, type it in the comments so we can all get a, I don't know what you call it. An extra wham of the energy. That's not really what we call it. When you type it out, it's going to help it land more in your field. It's going to make a heart-mind connection. And as the rest of us are reading and sharing in how it's landing for each different person, we all get to learn from each other. That's Emily speak for an extra wham. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to tip your waitress. All right. Here's what I want to do with this idea of working with our shadow now, because those of you who are regulars inside of this space with me every Wednesday, you come in this sacred classroom to expand. You know that it's not only about receiving intelligence coming in from the Akashic records, it's also about doing activations. Okay, so I want to activate. I'm really excited about this idea of the shadow is actually showing us where we get to have a timeline jump. All right, so I want everyone who is enlivened by this discussion, the discussion of your shadow, to find a part of yourself, a part of your personality that's expressing in that icky zone. Not that it's bad icky, it just doesn't feel good inside of the body. We're still going to work with it in a very dynamic way, so it's actually fantastic. But you're going to know that you've picked the right thing because you want to feel into like what's feeling icky. What feels like, ooh, I wish I could show up differently there, and get really honest with yourself. Okay? Maybe it's in the way you show up in your relationship with your kids or with your partner or with your ex-partner. Those can be particularly challenging. Okay? Maybe you are wanting to experience a shift in your career, but you're not doing the things that it takes to make that shift. You're not learning the new skills. You're not surrounding yourself with people who are doing what it is that you want to do. Procrastination, perhaps, is your shadow energy. So find out what your shadow energy is right now. I want you to feel it in your guts. Lay your hand over your lower belly here. Okay. Lay the hand. The particular chakra that we are working with right now is the sacral. It's in the womb area or in your sexual organs, your reproductive organs. In this chakra is where we hold unprocessed emotion. And the guides are saying that's another way you could look at your shadow self expressing, is it's part of you that's unprocessed. It's unprocessed emotion. Oh yeah, we're hitting it now. I can feel, oh my gosh, the clairsentience moving through my body right now. Clairsentience is clear inner feeling. You notice it by energy moving within the body. It can feel, you can feel a temperature shift, hot, cold. You can feel effervescence. You can feel sensation. I feel a lot of sensation moving in my third eye and in my lower body. It's moving in my legs, actually. Okay, so what that's telling me is that this unprocessed emotion is keeping you from moving forward. Okay, so I want you to think about the timeline that you want to be in. I'm gonna make some notes because I got to go back here. Moving, keeping you from moving forward. Okay, before we go back and we work with that energy, that thought that I want to help you all shift, I want you to get clear on what timeline you want to jump in, because as soon as we shift the thought, you're going to instantly jump into that timeline. It's like a catapult. That's not a catapult. That would be a slingshot. This would be a catapult. God, I love being live. All right. My son just got a slingshot as a white elephant gift, and he loves it. And it's so appropriate too. I don't know. I'm sure I've told you all this before, but my son, Jack, my oldest, my 19-year-old, is a pastor in training at a mega church here in Reno. He's a spiritual visionary in his own right. Love that kid. Love all of them. But Jack's in that phase where he's stepping into his own creation of his life. He's done with the schooling and all of the, the pieces that we from kindergarten up until graduation, and he's stepping into, it makes me emotional, a life that he's creating and that is meaningful for him. And how appropriate that he get a slingshot. It reminds me of David and Goliath. Anyway, slingshot. We're going to slingshot you into your new timeline. So it's really important that you get clear on what that timeline looks like. Think about your highest and best expression of yourself, what that feels like to be fully expressed, to be joyful every day, to be inspired, to be excited to get out of bed, to be helping others with your gifts, your skills, your genius, your experience in life. Close your eyes right now, looking up underneath the eyes until you get that bouncing of the eyes. Okay? This is activating theta brainwaves. And when we work in the Akashic Records, we want to use alphas and thetas. Okay? Thetas are the brain waves that are activated during REM sleep. That's why I want you looking up underneath your eyes and making the eyes bounce, rapid eye movement. And theta brain waves do not recognize limitation. So this right now is GPSing your consciousness, or I should say telling your consciousness, it's GPSing the timeline that you want to be in and feeding that back to your consciousness. Your reticular activating system is also working here. The guides are saying that your reticular activating system basically means you're going to notice things you're going to see things that you haven't seen before that are in alignment with your new timeline. When you notice that is happening, you want to acknowledge it. You want to give it a salute. Acknowledging things that are shifting in your life is like a Jamba Juice boost. It is an extra, that kind of energy. It will get you there faster as you acknowledge what's happening as you're going along. Okay, you can stop that part of the activation now where we're using the eyes and the theta brainwaves. Hand back on the gut, down into the sacral chakra, and feeling into, again, that shadow part of yourself. You've probably already noticed a shift in the energy, that you feel lighter, that you feel happier already. Okay. But I want you to take yourself back to that shadow aspect, that unprocessed emotion. Okay. And I want you to ask yourself, just notice the first thing that comes up in your mind. Take some deep, slow breaths. You want to slow yourself down for this one. This is where you need the alpha waves. Okay. And I want you to notice the first thing that comes into your mind when I ask you, what thought are you having? What recurring thought are you having that is triggering that shadow energy? What recurring thought, if I were using this on myself, I shared that I noticed that I was not in a state of self-love. My self-love was expressing in shadow. What recurring thought am I thinking that is connected to that shadow energy, that is creating an environment where that shadow energy gets to thrive? Okay. What I'm noticing for me, and I'm sharing so that you guys can see how this works, give you an example. I should have ... So what I notice is anytime I'm the thought I should have filled in with XYZ ... is probably my favorite part of speech. You know you're an English nerd if you have a favorite part of speech. Okay? That ... because it's really, you know why I love it? Because there's a timeline shift on the other end of it. It's to be continued. It can be filled in a lot of different ways. It's a timeline shift. All right. We're about to catapult into that new timeline as you commit now to no longer showing up for whatever that thought was. For me, it looks like I should have ... I am now committing to no longer show up for that thought. When I notice myself thinking I should have, girl, you better stop before you even fill in the blank. And I'm choosing right now to breathe. I love breath. It's like sucking your thumb. It is a self-soothing mechanism. It is a consciousness expander that we have in every single moment to use. The breath can be programmed. So that's what mine looks like. I'm using breath. And in 3, 2, 1, now as I make that commitment with my full body, with every cell in my body, I'm moving into my higher timeline, and it's that simple. Notice what's shifting, what sensations are moving in your body as you are giving your body commands on how you want it to operate for you. Good job. All right. Let's dive into some more questions here. All right. Share some more questions. I'm going to be scrolling here for a second, breathing. All right. Kautar, thank you for being here. Hopefully I said that to pronounce your name close to correctly. Can we send some love to my collective to trust in source as our team is currently playing football? I have a mission and an activation from my Akash and is highly appreciated. All right. Thank you for this. Yes, sending that energy for you now. I want to talk about trust. I love that trust is where my mind and energy was guided. Here's intelligence that has been dropping in for me around trust. And that is that trust can be challenging because trust requires us to know and understand and believe in our skills for creation. Okay. And here's the deal. If you do not fully trust yourself yet, here's why: because you haven't fully cultivated the understanding or the skills on how to create feedback loops with the universe. Because the universe is not doesn't play favorites. It's not like trusting that your favorite uncle is going to give you the present that you want on Christmas. It's not like that. The universe works the same for every person. And once we know how to create feedback loops with the universe, we know how to find our subconscious patterns that are playing out. That would be another way to talk about shadow, is there are subconscious patterns that are playing out. Once you learn how to identify your subconscious patterns and shift them into conscious patterns, into creating and emitting the vibrational frequency that you want, that you know that is going to create the desired outcome, you will fully trust yourself. And it's this full level of trust that allows for full relaxation so that you can show up to life without stress. And guess what? It's okay if you don't nail it every time. So we are in a planet in a zone of contrast. Your goal is not to be perfect in this. Your goal is to learn. And the problems, the contrast, the challenge that you have allows you to learn. So be excited, be grateful for these opportunities to learn, to grow, to play in the field. Trust me, playing in the field of infinite intelligence is awesome and fun. And sometimes you're going to get it totally right. You're going to nail it. You're going to manifest instantly what you want. You're always going to manifest something instantly. It's a vibrational frequency is what we're instantly manifesting. Okay. And sometimes you're going to get it wrong, and that's okay. But as you are in this relentless quest for your greatness, think of it in terms of learning to trust yourself. Trusting is about learning how to use your skills. You've got to practice. Think of an elite athlete. An elite athlete doesn't become an elite athlete by sitting on their ass and doing nothing. An elite athlete does not stay an elite athlete after they've reached that point and then they do nothing. No, we have to constantly keep working these muscles. You want to be in a group, a space, a collective where others are working on this as well, so you can be supported. Unfortunately, many of us do not have friends and family that push us and propel us to do our best. If you do, God bless you. If you don't, it's okay. There are spaces. Come into the Akashic Academy. Be in this frequency. Where if you are noticing that you don't have that in your life, part of your mission and purpose here on the planet will be creating it. Anything that you notice that you don't have, rather than getting all pithy about it and blaming your family for not, and your friends for not showing up the way you want to show up. This is where Michael Jackson nailed it for us all. You got to be the man in the mirror. You have to be the one that you want to experience in the world. Okay? Let's do our second activation here. I want you to think about what you do not have in your life right now. And I want you to get very clear about how you can become that person to yourself and others, or you can embody or personify that characteristic. So let's say that you don't have the encouragement that you need to propel yourself forward. Type in the comments whatever it is that you're working on here so I can hold space for you. Okay? Maybe it's encouragement. Maybe it's innovation. Maybe you are not in a friend group or a family group where new ideas are valued and encouraged. Hey, what new ideas did you have today? Maybe you are in a family or a friend group where it's the same old energy over and over and over again. Those repetitive ancestral cycles. Okay? Think about Jamie's working on support. We've got home, courage to write. All right. So I want you to think about what it is that you're working with, and now get very clear. One step. We want it to be simple. May not be easy until it is, until you rewire your energy to constantly show up in this way. But let's keep it simple. That one thing that you're working with that you do not currently have, how can you show up and be that change to others? And I want you to commit to that right now. And as you commit to that, again, you're jumping timelines, lots of timeline jumping. This committing to being the energy that you don't currently see in your life is propelling you to that GPS location that we all found together about 10 minutes ago. Troy, thank you. Being a better dad, I see you. Jamie, self-love and improvement, I see you. Thank you for that. Sandra, courage to show up. I see you. Courage is a big one. Ask for help in this. Okay? That's what I hear the guides talking about right now is don't forget you can ask for help. You should be asking for help. If you're not asking for help, then that's an easy one. And it's also very easy to forget. Okay? All right, another question here for today would take, I was going to say one more question, but I might want to do two. We'll just have to see how much energy keeps flowing through. All right. Estera says, is there any shortcut to the Akash? All right, here are the important things to get into the Akash, and nope, not in the beginning. In the beginning, you got to do the work because it's all about having a vibrational match. But as you learn to hold the frequency of the Akash, then there absolutely is a shortcut. You're always connected. Okay? But awareness of that connection is really important. I now have the ability to instantaneously be tapped in, but that doesn't mean that when I'm triggered and I might be yelling at my kids, which may still happen every now and then, when I repeat myself over and over and over and over and over and over. But once I get to the point where I am yelling to be heard, I'm triggered, and there's a part of me that's connected to the Akash, but I cannot trust that whatever I'm yelling or that's coming out of my mouth, what I'm communicating in that moment is from the Akashic records because I'm triggered. I've got a vibration that is saying, I'm not heard. Rah! And that is not a vibrational match to the Akash, even though I'm instantly connected to it. But here's what you need to know and what you need to work on so that you can begin to create a connection with the Akash. Okay? You've got to take responsibility for everything. Radical responsibility, radical self-leadership. You cannot blame anybody else ever for how you feel or what you are experiencing in your life. It's always you. That's step one. Okay? Step two is, I feel like there's a little more in that one, but their guides are saying keep it simple for now. You got to take radical responsibility and ask questions. And recognize that the vibrational frequency of the question that you ask, the answer is going to match that. And there's a connection there between the first and the second thing that I said. Second thing was asking questions. First thing was take full responsibility. As you take full responsibility for what it is that you are feeling, creating, experiencing in life, then the way that you ask the questions is going to change. We have an awesome, helpful question guide. If you need help asking the right questions, or you want to take radical responsibility, but you're not exactly sure what that looks like, write helpful question guide. I did this once before and man, it burned me. You can also write helpful question guide, HQG. I like acronyms. But one time the acronym I told you to type in was a naughty word. Who remembers that? HQG, helpful question guide. If you need extra help asking the right questions And I will make sure that my team gets that to you, the helpful question guide. Okay. But as we learn to take full responsibility for what it is that we are creating and experiencing and feeling, the questions look like, what can I understand about myself so that I get why I keep acting like an a-hole to my kids? Like, why do I keep doing that? Where does that come from? What do I need to learn about myself so that I can shift that? See how those questions are different rather than, why do my kids not listen to me? Why does everybody fight me and oppose my thoughts, my good ideas? See how there's a difference in the vibrational frequency of when we take full ownership? Starting any question to the Akash that is, oh, I have a question here from someone very special. All right, I'm going to get to that one. Starting any question in your Akashic records by, what can I learn from XYZ ... fill in the blank with what it is, what experience that you want more intelligence on. And then just open up your mind. It's like an improv game. For those of you who don't know, I was an actress for 20 years before I did this. Hollywood was spiritual boot camp, believe it or not. But improving, allowing ideas to flow into your mind unrestricted, is a very important part of getting intelligence from the Akash. All right, if that was helpful to you, send some love likes, hearts across the screen. One more question here. Is it possible to use our own energy to bring together loved ones who were estranged from each other? All right. So the answer is that every single person on this planet has free will. That's the prime directive, is that we cannot usurp somebody else's free will. We can't get in the way of free will. But what we can do is help shift the environment where there is a softening so that there can be change. Okay, when people, here's what the guides are saying right now. It's important to understand. When loved ones have estranged themselves from each other, the culprit is rigid thinking, rigid thoughts, marrying ourselves to a thought that is not fully true or does not bring in the entire vibrational spectrum. It's very rigid. And so, because we are connected to one another in our thought, we can begin to shift the environment for the better in these ways. First of all, anytime that there is a negative situation happening, whether it's happening to you or you're watching it happen, if it is in your presence, there's something that you get to learn from this experience. It's here to be your teacher. Without it, there's something that wouldn't happen or wouldn't come to fulfillment or allow you to have a new idea or an inspired thought or an aha moment. So it's important that we learn to understand that our challenge, our problems, any time that we're seeing them, whether we're seeing our own or whether we're seeing someone else's, that there's a great master teacher showing up here, and we've got to be thankful and grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you. Acknowledging that gift within the wound. And that in an whole body's buzzing there. If you're getting the body buzzes, feel it. Being mad at the situation or exhausted by the situation, sometimes those can motivate us to do something differently. But that's really the only thing they're good for, is possibly motivating us to do something differently. A lot of times, anger and frustration doesn't motivate us to do something different because we don't actually value those things. We want to get rid of or eliminate as much of that as possible. What motivates us is things that we value or experiencing something that we value. So finding the gift within the wound is the first step to begin softening, and we've got to get thankful for the pain that's showing up to be our teacher. That right there is a softening energy that's going to counteract the rigidity that is creating the energy. Here's the other thing is that we're all telepathic as well. So what you can do when you recognize that we're telepathic, and how in the very beginning of this broadcast, we see all of the different pinpoints of light illuminating. What we're doing is we're honoring grid points of connection and intelligence, where we're all the same, where we can all feed into these points. It's a fancy way of saying telepathy, that we can shoot ideas into other people's minds. When you get really good at telepathy, you can shoot ideas into other people's minds and make them think that they are their own ideas. And they are. The ideas that we want to shoot into the field to support others who have stagnated in their growth, to help them learn, is exactly what we did, first of all, for ourselves. Ooh, where's the teacher in this? How can I learn? How can I see something differently? Okay. And then another thing that I'm hearing that the guides are saying right now that we can do is we can practice seeing things differently. And that it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Okay. Stand in a different position in your room. Look at the room differently while you are thinking about that person who could use the love and support and the great teacher of shifting their perspective and seeing something differently. Make a heart-mind connection with that person. Stand in a different corner of your room and look around the room for things that you've never seen before. Begin to play and to practice like this and open yourself to see the magic. Now, when the magic happens, when you notice that it's happening, you want to acknowledge it. You want to say, oh yes, I saw that. I saw you. Similarly, I feel the guide saying there have been some of you that are having an up level of vision that's happening in your peripheral right now. And we see the peripheral, let me rephrase that. The peripheral is the side of your eyes, so you're seeing out of the corner of your eyes. But what the guides want to talk about are either flashes of light or shadow that are happening in your peripheral. So if you are noticing this, your guides are talking to you right now. They're saying there is a collective up level of our clairvoyance. Seeing out of the peripheral is an example of our clairvoyance. And when you see something out of your peripheral, either a shadow or a flash of light, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to say, yes, I see you. Yes, I see you. Acknowledge that you're seeing that. Try that instead of turning, because what happens, so if this is where you see straight on, and out here's the peripheral, right? Sandra, yep, I knew they were talking to y'all out there. Sandra, thank you. Who else is noticing that in the peripheral? Let me know in the comments if this is you that this is coming in for. All right, so we see straight on, and then we also see in the peripheral. The convex concave nature of the eyes bends the light differently in our peripheral, so we can actually see into other dimensions. But what happens when you see something out of your eyes and out of the corner of your eyes and you turn and you look quickly, you're shifting your range of vision and you're no longer seeing out of your peripheral. Just your regular eyes are seeing, and your regular eyes are not yet attuned to see into different dimensions. Unless you're looking with your inner eyes. Or unless you're Robert Barnes. Or somebody who is committed to this work of shifting and changing your own vibration so that you can see into dimensions. Not every human comes equipped with this yet. Sandra, cool. Thank you for feeling the goosebumps. Jamie saw a flash twice last night. Yep, Robert seeing it. I knew you guys were seeing it. Karen seeing it, Kelly seeing it. Awesome. Thank you all for letting us work here. Okay, clairvoyance is what Kelly's working on right now. Yep, seeing the unseen. All right, so rather than turning your vision to see what shadow or light is flashing or shadowing, in your peripheral, simply say, I see you. I see you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for teaching me. As soon as we get grateful for all of our teachers, thanking all of our teachers, and I don't just mean people who are showing up in physical form, I mean the circumstances of your life that suck. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Start getting grateful for all of the teachers that are showing up in your life. Be the ultimate student. That's how to be the ultimate student. But remember how I talked about the roles that you get to play? There's that teacher-student energy coming in again. Get really grateful for what it is that you're learning, and you will begin to learn very quickly. Okay? Awesome. Kelly says, lining up those lessons. Get it, girl. All right, send some love, likes, hearts across the screen if you have enjoyed this time together, if you are feeling more uplifted, if you are noticing those things, that you had a good time here in this space and you're feeling more uplifted, you've had a vibrational increase and more is now possible for you. Good job. I'm glad that I could be here and be a witness and a participant in this energy for you all. I'm going to give you one last chance to play along before we wrap up today for the giveaway happening all month here inside the Akashic Academy. And remember, if you would like to be entered into the drawing for the free training program, the beginner's training and learn to read the Akashic records, 3 things I'm going to ask you to do. One is share this out. Share it out right now. Even if you're watching on the replay, the ever popular and powerful now moment, share it now. 2, make sure you like and subscribe wherever you are tuning in from, whether that is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Make sure that you are staying connected. And number 3, leave me a link in the comments to where you shared. My team will be going back and collecting all of those links. I should say all of the names of those of you who shared the links, putting your name in a hat, and we will be drawing on Friday. All right. Thank you all for being here. I feel uplifted. I feel more is possible for me in my life. Thank you, truly. This show does not happen without you. I'm happy to be here with you all. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you back here again next week.